And I'm going to follow a page from his book. I have a few notes written out here, but I'm going to work from within. First, I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity for me to be able to reflect and enjoy this wonderful situation. I think that the folks that I'd like to thank, obviously, are everybody here, the community at Loyola, Coach Herster, Jared Romansky and his mother, my family, as well as Coach Amato, and the folks that were support for me as I was growing up. I want to jump right into a story because the story is really a moment that defines me as a young individual. And my entry into Loyola was a little different than most. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. I went to a Catholic high school, all-boys Catholic high school there as well. And my parents moved to Chicago in the middle of my freshman year. I was not real happy about that. As most people can imagine, at a 15-year-old age, everything is a dramatic experience. It doesn't matter if it's your girlfriend or your parents, the whole life, your life is over. So when I moved here, I was, from my perspective, I was giving up what essentially was going to be an opportunity to start as a sophomore, yada, yada, yada. When I came here, I knew nobody. I wanted to go to a public school, mostly because there was girls. Moving to Chicago, Loyola Academy, not knowing anybody, no girls. Did I say no girls?
Yeah.
The change for me was huge. Everything in my body wanted me to go back to Germantown, Tennessee. I'm looking at one of my close friends who I happen to be friends with back in Germantown, Tennessee, and he's here tonight. And so I did what I needed to do to get by. While Loyola had open arms for me, I really had no interest in having open arms for Loyola. My first sports involvement at Loyola was baseball in the middle of my freshman year, and then again football my sophomore year. I did just enough to get by, and I'm going to remind you again that this is not a flattering story for me. But starting on the sophomore football team, I was the running back and we had a good year. We were having a good year. I was having a good year. Everything was good, with the exception of the fact that I wasn't taking care of things in school. And down in Tennessee, school's important, but sports is king. And the first thing I learned here was that if you don't have school, you don't have sports. If you don't have school and sports, you just really don't have anything. And the experience that I went through was that I was called down to my counselor's office with 2 games left in the beginning or the end of my sophomore year, and it was Coach Paul Maggiore, who was a counselor but also a varsity football coach. He called me down to his office to tell me that I don't know if my mom's going to be happy with this story, but he called me down to the office to tell me that I was academically ineligible.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Academically ineligible mostly because everything about me wanted to be back in Tennessee. And so he looks at me and he asks me this question. It's a very simple question. The question was, so what does this mean to you now that you know this information? And at this point, my natural response was, well, that means I'm not going to get my 1,000 yards rushing. Of course, as those words are escaping my lips, I'm realizing from a combination of the look on his face and my sense of self at some level at that age, well, it's very well self-absorbed. his response to my response was, no, that means that the likelihood of your team winning the championship, the Catholic League championship, has decreased. It means that you will not play varsity football for the playoffs, and so on and so forth. Well, for me, that was a defining moment. That was my opportunity to go one of two different ways. And one direction was to say, well, you know, I want to be back in Tennessee. Or it was to open my arms and endorse the community that was reaching for me the whole time, but I had no interest in it. So at that point, I had to set new goals, new achievements, new desires in a new community, or else I was going to have to go home and talk to my parents. So it's those goals and those achievements that have all of us here today. And those goals and achievements, unfortunately, we never take the time to really appreciate them until there's an opportunity for essentially someone else to say, hey, you actually did something great. And this is my time to be able to take a step back and actually realize that I did something pretty cool. But we all need to take that step back and realize the mountain that was just climbed, the goal that was just achieved, and get over the fact that it's always about what's next, what can I do to be better, how can I do this to whatever it is. And really what it boils down to is appreciating every moment. This is an opportunity that I'm having right here with my family and my friends and this community to take that step back and appreciate the opportunities that I was given, the opportunities and the relationships that were developed, the Loyola community, the sense of integrity, the sense of family, those things that essentially shaped and molded my future, and my ability to develop ongoing, lasting relationships with the friends and family that I have here. And the only point that I have tonight is that appreciate every goal that you achieve. At least take a few minutes to step back and say, thank you, wow, that was pretty amazing, instead of just going glazing right over it as if it didn't happen and moving on to the next thing. And again, this is only possible because of the community, the family, the friends, and the sense of one family. Thank you for all of it. Thank you for the community. Thank you. And this is a huge honor for me. And I guess all I can say again is thank you.
Our next inductee is a name I became quite familiar with when I did the morning sports report on the PA every day. Merrill Benabos, a stellar softball pitcher. Let's just go through briefly the statistics here. 60 wins, 545 strikeouts, a 1.1 ERA, and a .373 batting average. She also went on to a Hall of Fame career at UIC. And those achievements, again, are good enough for the Loyola Academy Hall of Fame. Welcome, Merrill Benabos, class